Welcome to Catholicsplaining. Prepare yourself. You're about to be Catholicsplained. What are we Catholicsplaining today? Why it is a gospel according to Matthew. We're continuing with it. We're going to get up to the entrance of Jesus into Jerusalem because that's what's going to be happening this Sunday. We are finally about to enter Holy Week. And I don't know about you all, but this has been one Lent for the ages. It was definitely a March 25th for the ages between the Holy Father, the not Archbishop of Canterbury, the announcements of the so-called Lord of the Rings movie, or as they said, a Tolkien movie. Ugh, just really. Just going through the real Tolkien story. And then we had also on March 25th, certain Catholic influencers, their mistake going full anti-Catholic, which is unbelievable, which I guess people just kind of show their true colors when money is the root of all evil. So be careful, folks. Be careful out there. Guard your souls. And as always, pray for me so that I don't fall into any traps of sin, of pride. Now, I got really lucky, though. I had more success than you can possibly imagine before I was 23. I achieved the highest I could in my music career and in my writing career. So, and as a Catholic writer too. So it's like, well, now that I've done that, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? So I guess I'm lucky that I'm not tempted by that kind of pride. But there's other pride. So pray for me. Pray for me. But let's go ahead. Let's go to the nice big non-controversial teachings on divorce. Is my cat interfering again? Okay, he's not. He's just staring me down. All right, stare me down all you want. We're going to talk about divorce, cat. 19. Now, when Jesus had finished these sayings, he went away from Galilee and entered the region of Judea beyond the Jordan, and large crowds followed him, and he healed them there. Yay. So now this is where Jesus has concluded his Galilean ministry, is now headed for Jerusalem. His presence east of the Jordan has a dual significance. This location is linked with St. John the Baptist, who was executed for condemning the divorce and remarriage of Herod Antipas and his mistress Herodias. Ooh, I never knew that. Never thought of it. This tragedy looms in the background of the ensuing question about divorce. One suspects the Pharisees hoped to lure Jesus into the same trap that cost John his life. Interesting perspective. The region beyond the Jordan is also the place where Moses gave Israel the laws of Deuteronomy. It seems more than coincidental that Jesus is about to repeal the Deuteronomic concession for divorce and remarriage in the very place where it was ratified. Dun, dun, dun. He's going to drop a truth bomb. And Pharisees came up to him and tested him by asking, this does make sense. What planet have I been on? Well, this is why I am not a Bible scholar. Let's see. Is it lawful to divorce one's wife for any cause? Okay, so this was a trap. He answered, that is, Jesus. Have you not read that he who made them from the beginning made them male and female? Jesus just got canceled. And said, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one. So they are no longer two, but one. You see, that's a very beautiful teaching about marriage. And of course, the whole when there is children, of course, children is a huge part of marriage. Understanding that sometimes people may not physically be able to, but you still make the promise at your marriage. That is, if you are, a certain age, like they will leave it out for prudential reasons if it's a later marriage. But two become three, to become one, Trinity, procreation, all of that. But it is a beautiful thing. The two become one in marriage. What therefore God has joined together, let no man put asunder. They say that at marriage. I'm listening while I'm making ziti parmesan. Well, thank you, Shark Bait Bully. I do appreciate that. They said to him, Why then did Moses command one to give a certificate of divorce and to put her away? He said to them, for your hardness of heart, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whenever you hear that from Jesus, get ready. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for unchastity and marries another commits adultery. And he who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. It's a tricky one, like I said. Sometimes it's like, well, where's the mercy? Where's the, extenuating circumstances? Well, we're going to get a little bit into that. Is this fair? But he said it. All right. The disciples said to him, if such is the case of a man with his wife, it is not expedient to marry. Interesting. So the disciples are all like, okay, then maybe you shouldn't be married. But he said to them, not all men can receive this precept, but only those to whom it is given. Oh, so he's actually saying, well, yeah, some, but only to those whom it is given. In other words, it is a gift. It is a gift to be celibate. For there are eunuchs who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by men. And there are eunuchs who have, I got to turn the page. There are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven. He who is able to receive this, let him receive it. Now, I don't think Jesus is saying literally do it. He's talking about certain people made celibate. But if you become a eunuch for the kingdom of heaven. And we also said this about what was I saying? I don't know, because I went on to the next note. I'll hold that thought. So here Jesus forbids divorce and remarriage and revokes the lower standard of the old law permitting divorce for non-Levitical laymen in Israel. Oh, interesting. So it wasn't necessarily that everyone could. It was for non-Levitical laymen. Jesus thus restores marriage to its original integrity and elevates it to a new covenant sacrament. Yeah, and because it's a sacrament, remember, sacraments cannot be undone. And that's where we're going to get to, but what about so-called Catholic divorce? Or where is the mercy? Where is all of this? We're going to get there. And so tested, tempted. Okay. Many read this as a question about the legitimate grounds for divorce. It is said that Jesus is pressed to take sides in a debate between the Pharisaic schools of these other guys. Oh, well. The Pharisees thus see an opportunity to discredit Jesus by pitting him against Moses. Jesus evades the trap by quoting the words of Moses from Genesis, then turns the tables by showing that the Pharisees are the ones out of touch with God's true intention for married life, as revealed in the Torah. Have you not read? Yeah. Have you not read? That's basically the polite way of, if this were X. Have you not read? Yeah, what God has joined together, no man can put asunder. It's an indissoluble bond. And it's not just marriage, the sacrament of matrimony, that is an indissoluble bond. It's also like baptism. You can't take that away. Holy orders is another one. Let's see. And then when Jesus says, and I say to you, he is invoking his divine authority. He's, if we will, defining something. He's God. He can do it. So Jesus is invoking his own authority to forbid divorce and remarriage. Matthew's account reflects Jewish cultural traditions where men alone had the right to divorce. That's another thing. Mark more fully records Jesus' statement that both men and women are forbidden to divorce and remarry. Okay, I was wondering a little bit about that. Okay, help us out. And then the whole not expedient to marry. Their incredulous response makes it certain that Jesus permitted no exceptions for husbands and wives bound together by the sacrament. Okay, that's what they're saying there. So this is why you got to read it all as a whole. This whole eunuchs, royal servants in charge of a king's wives. That's true. To safeguard things, I'm not going to say that out loud, in the ancient Near East were either impotent or physically made impotent, if you know what I mean. And they confirm that Jesus is speaking metaphorically. These men are leaders entrusted with the care of Christ's bride, the church on earth, embracing consecrated virginity. They live by anticipation the life of heaven. And St. Paul says that celibacy is higher than the married state, although both vocations are important. Yeah, when St. Paul talks about it. And it's pretty clear that the apostles did not marry at this point. And we know that St. Peter at one time was married, but there's no mention of his wife. So the thinking is he was widowed, because when you see the Acts of the Apostles and history and all that, there's no record of this. For the same reason that it's better for a priest not to be married today. I had a priest once mention to me, he's like, no one ever asks us if we want to be married. He's like, he said, how can I do my vocation? They don't have time. And I have seen the strain with women who are married to priests. It's like, good luck ever seeing your husband. It's the thing. There's a reason why, for the most part, they are celibate. Alrighty. Jesus. Oh, before we go on, there's a huge, huge thing. Okay, this is going into the controversy. Jesus' teachings on marriage, divorce, and remarriage is unfortunately a source of controversy among Christians. Yeah, indeed it is. Much confusion swirls around his statement, whoever divorces his wife except for unchastity, and marries another commits adultery. Does Jesus really make an exception to allow for divorce and remarriage? Yeah, let's ask that question. Since the rise of Protestantism in the 16th century, many non-Catholic groups have answered yes. They began to appeal to this exception clause to justify divorce and remarriage in extreme circumstances. And I think we've kind of seen what happens whenever there's an extreme circumstance, and now it's basically no-fault divorce. They began to appeal to this exception clause to justify divorce and remarriage. Oh, wait, I already said that. However, this view fails to interpret Jesus' statement in light of its immediate biblical context. The disciples' response to Jesus' statement on divorce, it is expedient not to marry, demonstrates that in their understanding, Jesus was leaving no room at all for divorce and remarriage. In fact, they viewed celibacy as a preferable alternative to marriage precisely because Jesus' teaching on the matter is so strict. Far more so than any of his Jewish contemporaries. The disciples' incredulous response to Jesus thus confirms the Catholic Church's constant teaching on the indissolubility of sacramental marriage. So the question remains, what did Jesus mean when he said, except for unchastity? So there's three main interpretations, but none is endorsed by the Church as official understanding. However, all are permissible interpretations inasmuch as they harmonize the exception clause with the revolutionary teaching of Jesus. There is a patristic view. Church fathers have said Jesus allowed for divorce in cases of serious sexual sin, such as adultery, but he never permitted remarriage after divorce. Yeah. Because of what they say after it. He says, whoever divorces his wife, except for unchastity, but then says, he who marries a divorced woman. So, yeah, that seems to make sense. So it says, like, the spouses may separate, by a legal arrangement, but they cannot remarry. And the Greek word porneia, translated unchastity. Wait, is that how we get that word? Well, the word has a broad range of meaning. It can mean adultery. Thus, an adulterous situation may give cause for separation so long as the spouses do not embark upon a second marriage. This squares with St. Paul's teaching that a separated couple has only two options: be reconciled to one another or remain single. Yeah. Then we have the Levitical law view. Interprets unchastity as invalid marriages, where the spouses were too closely related. Yeah. Was it consanguinity? And even today, it will not be a valid marriage. It will not be a sacramental marriage. I think we have way stricter rules than others on this. I think it's 5 degrees, maybe? I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I'm not planning on going near any of my cousins' 5th degree or otherwise. Not a worry of mine. Thus, except for unchastity means except where unlawful unions exist. Such unions ought to be severed because of the impediment posed by near blood relations. A divorce under these conditions does not sunder a true marriage bond because a valid marriage never existed. Yeah, and part of what Jesus is talking about here, this is when he's elevating it to a sacrament. All right, the no comment view. What on earth is that? According to this, Jesus sets aside Jewish debates over the ground for divorce. Because Jesus is revoking Old Testament concession on divorce, he brackets the whole issue and sets it off to the side as irrelevant. Thus, except for unchastity means regardless of the Old Testament grounds for divorce. Jesus refuses even to comment on Deuteronomy 24:1. To do so would blunt the force of his own teaching. Since he is not clarifying or reaffirming Moses' permission, he is abolishing it. Each of these views faithfully upholds Jesus' prohibition against divorce and remarriage. He restores marriage to its original purity as a lifelong union of love and fidelity. Greater still, Jesus elevates it to a sacrament. Hey, I just said that. Married couples are now called to be an image of Christ and his enduring love for the church. Through the sound principle of biblical interpretation and the guidance of tradition, the revolutionary standard of Jesus' teaching on marriage and divorce is preserved intact in the church. And then a lot of people say, well, what about all these annulments? Look around you in the world and ask me why there are so many annulments. How many people go to the altar with the intention of this? How many issues? But that's a discussion for also another day. No way condemnation. The catechism and pastoral stuff has definitely evolved on it, but the teaching still stands. Marriage is a sacrament under the right circumstances. I like to sometimes separate marriage and sacrament and matrimony, because sacrament and matrimony is what we're talking about here. Let's get some rich man. Oh, no, let's bless the children first. Jesus blesses the children. Then children were brought to him that he might lay his hands on them and pray. The disciples rebuked the people, but Jesus said, "Let the children come to me, and do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of heaven." Yay! And he laid his hands on them and went away. Good times. The rich young man. And behold, one came up to him saying, "Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life?" Oh, yeah. The Holy Father, John Paul II, St. John Paul II, he went the whole thing. Veritatis Splendor, on the splendor of truth, was probably his greatest encyclical. It's based on this. But interesting, what good deed must I do to have eternal life? It's like, well, no good deed. Sorry, pal. It's a free gift of grace and all of that. But let's see what goes on here. And he, Jesus, said to him, "Why do you ask me about what is good? One there is who is good. If you would enter life, keep the commandments." That's interesting. That almost sounds like Jesus is saying do a work. Discussion for another day. Look at my things on justification. He said to him, "Which?" And Jesus said, "You shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness. Honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." Now, if you were taking Jesus's words always literally, it's like, oh, so I only have to follow these. It's like, no, obviously. And the guy's like, "Hey, I've done all that. What do I still lack?" Jesus said to him, "If you would be perfect, go sell what you possess and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me." When the young man heard this, he went away sorrowful, for he had many possessions. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Truly I say to you, it will be hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." Tell me about it. Again, as I was saying earlier, Catholic influencers are a mistake. They lose their souls like that when it comes to money. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, and it's a parable of impossibility. Thus warns that extreme difficulties face the rich and threaten their entrance to the kingdom. And I would say also the love of money, the attempt to get rich is the same. Only with God's help can the wealthy detach themselves from the love of money and material possessions. The young man's refusal to embrace poverty proves that Jesus' point. Well, it was a bit of an exaggeration. And so the church has clarified, you can have money. It's okay. Obviously, you wouldn't see people converting with money and people that still had money in the early church. But he is making a very good point. Look at all the sin that drips around the rich. Yeah, and that when the disciples heard this, they were greatly astonished, saying, "Who then can be saved?" They're like, dude, I mean, exactly. Who can be saved? I mean, sounds like you're saying nobody. But Jesus looked at them and said to them, "With men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." That's the answer. It's possible with God. The grace of God. Then Peter said in reply, "Behold, we have left everything and followed you. What then shall we have?" Peter, it's always Peter. Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you, in the new world, when the Son of Man shall sit on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." The 12, the apostles, all that, their special status. "And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or lands for my name's sake will receive 100-fold and inherit eternal life. But many that are first will be last, and the last first." This is not telling people to dump your kids. I mean, you are obligated to look after your family. Jesus is making a point here. He's not like, don't take this literally. Let's see. Labor, okay, or take this literally if you're free to take it literally, is a better way, perhaps, of putting it. Laborers in the vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a householder who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyards. After agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And going out among the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the market, and said to them, he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." I tell you what, this is one of those parables that makes people mad. Sometimes me too. So they went, going out again about the 6th hour, and the 9th hour he did the same. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing and said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said, "Go into the vineyard too." And when the evening came, the owner of the vineyard came to his steward, called the laborers, and paid them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first. And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now, when the first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarius. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the householder, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity?" So the last will be first, and the first last. This is goes right along with the parable of the prodigal son. Yeah, sometimes I'll call him out, Father Mike Schmidt. I think his commentary on this was a little bit off on the prodigal son that he did a few weeks ago, because it made it sound like that they were wrong to feel like this. But each time Jesus is like, "Hey, friend, hey, son, I get it, but you have your reward. Don't begrudge other people the same reward. This is what you agreed to. You're good." Often, though, it gets very frustrating because it seems like, yeah, the ones that don't labor as hard or don't walk in the way get more attention. And they do. You see this argument even with teachers in the classroom, and this is a huge issue, that you got 30 kids in the class and only 2 or 3 get the attention of the teacher because of behaviors or IEPs and stuff. Yeah. 504s. What does Scott say? Okay, this parable highlights God's generosity and can also refer to Israel's labor throughout salvation history and the Gentiles. And despite complaints, there is no violation of justice. God is not unfair to Israel. He's simply generous to late-coming Gentiles. I mean, these are different ways that it has been interpreted, but I think, yeah. Oh, and when Jesus was also talking about the 12 thrones and all that, that's referring back to what, Psalm 122? Okay. Yeah, denarius was a standard daily wage. Okay, listen, I mean, we're getting to the passion here. We're getting into Palm Sunday. So, the third time, Jesus foretells his death and resurrection. And as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, "Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and deliver him to the Gentiles to be mocked and scourged and crucified, and he will be raised on the 3rd day." Well, there we are. Oh, the request of the mother of James and John. Yeah, the whole thing about the mother going before Jesus to ask for favors and things. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked him for something. And he said to her, "What do you want?" She said to him, "Command that these 2 sons of mine may sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your kingdom." But Jesus answered, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the chalice that I am to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." And he said to them, "You will drink my chalice, but to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." Basically, it's like, all right, you're going to be martyred. And he's like, okay. But when he says to sit at my right or my left, it's not mine to grant, it's for those prepared for by my Father. So there are people that are going to be filling this space. It has already been preordained. I wonder who. All right. Is there a comment here? All right. 2 blind men. And as they went out of Jericho, a great crowd followed him. And behold, I love it when they behold, 2 blind men sitting by the roadside. When they heard that Jesus was passing by, they cried out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." The crowd rebuked them, telling them to be silent. But they cried out all the more. They cried out the more, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." And they're giving him the Son of David title because it's like the title may reflect an early belief that the Messiah would possess powers of healing and exorcism, as did the original Son of David, King Solomon. And turns out that in Mark, one of these blind men was named Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus. All right. The crowd okay. And Jesus stopped and called them, saying, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, let our eyes be opened." And Jesus, in pity, whoops, pages are stuck together. And Jesus, in pity, touched their eyes, and immediately they received their sight and followed him. And that's that. Because we're now getting into Holy Week and the Holy Week parts of the Bible. So I want to thank everyone that has been here. Those that are lurking, I welcome you. And Sharkbait Bully, I've got things I need to do today. I'll tell you what, the liturgy is going to be lit. It's going to be intense. So once again, pray for me, pray for my family, and pray for influencers. Sometimes I think I can get tempted even to be snarky and not think that, they need our prayers too. Pray for our Holy Father as well. He's in Monaco today. Yay. All right. So have a great day and be certain to live by the words of the gospel.